We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi, news in English.
You are tuned to Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Omoganwa. The headlines. All travelers entering Rwanda from Uganda are now subject to screening following an outbreak of Ebola virus in the neighboring country of Uganda. Motorists in the city of Kigali have asked the Rwanda National Police to investigate their colleagues who changed their license plates after breaking the law. Africa's biggest lender by assets, Standard Bank Group, has defended oil and gas pipeline projects between Tanzania and Uganda, saying they will have significant benefits to the East African nations. Welcome back. News in detail. All travelers entering Rwanda from Uganda are now subject to screening following an outbreak of Ebola virus disease in the neighboring country of Uganda, according to the Rwanda Biomedical Center. The Director General for Rwanda Biomedical Center, Claude Mambo Muvunyi, said there is no Ebola case reported in Rwanda so far, apart from one suspect who turned out negative after several tests. He also said several medical teams are being established across the country as part of national preparedness. Dr. Mambo also noted that Rwanda has also embarked on medical drills for medical personnel, including epidemiologists, and also reactivated the Nyamata Treatment Center, which is equipped to handle any Ebola suspected case. Action Aid Rwanda has hosted a national dialogue on unpaid care work and its impact on women's economic empowerment. The event brought together all national stakeholders and decision makers to discuss the way forward to addressing the unpaid care work for women's economic empowerment. According to research by the Institute of Development Studies, balancing paid work and unpaid care responsibilities is a daunting task for most women in Rwanda. Delegates in the conference called on Rwandans to reduce women's unpaid care work burden through a distribution of household chores among family members to prevent all forms of violence arising from an unequal workload of unpaid care work. Motorists in the city of Kigali have asked the Rwanda National Police to investigate colleagues who changed their license plates after breaking the law and let others be held accountable for their wrongdoings. The motorists say they are tired of constantly being accused of crimes committed by others who, instead of paying, choose to change their license plates, putting the blame on their colleagues. The traffic police spokesperson, Superintendent René Idede, says they are aware of the issue and that some of the perpetrators have already been apprehended. He urged other motorists to provide information about anyone they know who has committed such crimes. Farmers in Nyagatare district who farm on hills and their outskirts have asked the authorities for help in finding a way to conserve rainwater running from the tops of the mountains so they can use it to irrigate their crops during the dry seasons. According to Gasana Stephen, the mayor of Nyagatare district, it is difficult to build barrages and dams to catch water due to the nature of the hills in the district. However, they have developed a plan to profit from agricultural activities in the area. Alfred Munderede, the officer in charge of agriculture in Matimba sector, said research has shown that new crops should be instead introduced to replace those that are currently being cultivated on the district's hills, and the new crops should include coffee. He also mentioned that fighting soil erosion in the area should be a priority. The government of Rwanda has allocated 100 million Rwandan francs to cross-border sectors in Nyagatare district to develop activities in the area's hills, and over 600 people have been hired to assist in the fight against erosion. The Rwanda Investigations Bureau has handed over $80,000 and $350,700 to former Miss Rwanda in 2012, Aurore Mutesi Kayibanda, just days after she reported that her house worker stole the money from her. The man in question, who was Kayibanda's house worker at home in Chichuchiro, found the money in her car while he was cleaning it and ran away with it. The 34-year-old Antoine Sibomana was arrested in Karunji district alongside 32-year-old Onesphore Habarurema, who is detained over allegedly being an accomplice after he refused to share Sibomana's whereabouts. Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. The Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. Today's highlight was the official reopening of a 20-year government bond with a coupon rate of 13% and a yield to maturity of 13%. The trading session recorded a turnover of 31,859,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 3 deals on the fixed income market, and 335,400 Rwandan francs from 7,800 I&M Bank shares traded in 2 deals on the equities market. The equities counters closed with I&M Bank at 43 Rwandan francs, Bralirwa at 170 Rwandan francs, Bank of Kigali at 272 Rwandan francs, Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs, M10 Rwanda at 176 Rwandan francs, Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and R8 Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.5 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.7 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.44 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.45 Rwandan francs. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.26 and the selling price was 0.27. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 and the selling price was 0.5. The US dollar buying price was 1,030 and the selling price was 1,051. The British pound buying price was 1,110 and the selling price was 1,132. The euro buying price was 993 and the selling price was 1,013 Rwandan francs as the market closed.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Africa's biggest lender by assets, Standard Bank Group, has defended oil and gas pipeline projects between Tanzania and Uganda, saying they will have significant benefits to the East African nations. The two countries proposed a natural gas pipeline from Tanzania to Uganda, which would run parallel to the $4 billion East African Crude Oil Pipeline EACOP, currently under construction. The oil pipeline is opposed by environmentalists and the gas line may face similar resistance. However, the Standard Bank Group's Regional Chief Executive Officer for East Africa, Mr. Patrick Merede, told Bloomberg that the projects would have huge benefits for both nations. He said one of the biggest issues in Uganda is that 70% of cooking is still done by charcoal and firewood, so they are cutting trees down. So the gas pipeline in particular would help curb deforestation. Kenya's President William Ruto has unveiled his new cabinet today, 2 weeks after he was sworn in and as Kenya's fifth head of state. At a press conference, Dr. Ruto said Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will, in addition to deputizing him, chair intergovernmental relations and chair constitutional commissions. The president also named Musalia Mudavadi as the prime cabinet secretary, saying the position is the most senior office after the president and vice president. He also appointed the rest of the cabinet secretaries, including Professor Kithure Kindiki, Interior and National Administration, and Njuguna Ndugu, National Treasury and Planning, among others. Independent Democratic Action led by former Prime Minister Patrice Trovoada has won Sunday's legislative elections in Sao Tome and Principe with a total of 36,549 votes according to preliminary data released today by the National Electoral Commission. The provisional figures for the legislative elections were presented today at the Electoral Commission's headquarters in the capital. The Electoral Commission's President Judge Jose Carlos Berrios declined to present the distribution of seats by party as usual, referring to the Constitutional Court for this task, justifying that the parties have presented discrepancies in their own projections. Debris from a drone strike in northern Ethiopia's Tigray region has damaged a truck carrying humanitarian aid and belonging to the World Food Programme and injured the truck's driver, according to the United Nations Food Agency. The agency said the drone strike hit near an area called Zanawereda in northwestern Tigray as 2 trucks were delivering relief supplies to families displaced by the nearly 2-year-long conflict. Across Nigeria, devastating floods have continued to ravage farmlands, destroy crops, and force tens of thousands of people to abandon their homes. At least 300 people have died so far this year, and it is believed that some 100,000 people have been displaced and are now living in temporary shelters. The flooding has affected an estimated 500,000 people and destroyed infrastructure and farmland in 27 of Nigeria's 36 states and the capital city. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.